That is relevant to my interests. I would like to harvest electronic cantaloupe for the rest of my life. Thank you. When I want to go to the mines and kill flaming skulls with my katana lava sword, that's what I want to do. I don't want to spend 5 hours making sure the chickens are out and happy, right? Fuck the chickens, man! I don't care!
1, 2, 3, 4. If you can do all your stuff, what can figure it out? That's how it chooses you.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to make a note here at the top of the show and let you know that we did record this episode before the COVID-19 pandemic and quarantine. So if from time to time we sound a little out of touch with what's happening in the world, that's why. We do get into some themes that we thought were interesting and relevant in these crazy times. We hope you enjoy. We should introduce ourselves.
Oh, yes.
I'm Claire Patton.
I'm Teresa Sparks.
And this is It Chooses You.
Yeah.
So spring is in the air here in Colorado.
It is. Yeah.
Which means there's probably a snowstorm right around the corner. But it's been in the 60s. It's been sunny. And I feel so fucking good. I was aware that winter was going to have a strong effect on me this year. Sure enough, it did. But I didn't realize how much of an effect until the weather changed.
Right, until it lifted.
We have started on our garden.
Mm-hmm.
And the first step on our garden is to build up some berms.
Yeah. Which
will provide windbreak for the garden. So we have a giant pile of fill dirt from when the foundation for the house was built, and we are moving that dirt. It is a Sisyphusian task, but it feels good to use our bodies. It's that very one step after another on the path, another load of dirt, and there's that comfort in knowing what you're doing, and just being able to do it and trust that the whole picture will work out.
Yeah. Yeah, we should definitely talk about the role of faith in all of this, for sure, because that's been really present for me. And stuff I'm studying in school in particular this week.
Well, you should tell everybody what you're studying.
Oh, I'm in school for acupuncture, for energetic medicine, and I love it very much. I am in my 40s. I'm sorry, I'm in my late 20s. And back 20 years ago, when I did my first master's degree when I was 6, I developed a bunch of skills that then fell off and were not maintained because they were not necessary to my daily life. So learning how to be a student again is a thing, but it's fun and good, and I like it. Yeah, I mean, okay. Are we gonna?
I knew something was gonna happen.
Are we gonna get into this?
Yeah.
Are we gonna get into it? Okay. So, I may have a core belief that I have not previously identified. That, see, and this is part of my dissociation, is that I'm having trouble following what I'm thinking about. I've told you recently that I had this thing. I was like, oh, you've never actually committed to anything in your life. Like, I've had jobs that I've gone to regularly. I guess we could count that as a commitment if we want to feel generous.
You also put your heart and mind staunchly behind what you're doing at your job, from what I've seen.
Thank you. I believe that's true. It's very painful. I don't recommend it. Try not to care, kids.
Hey, that could be, maybe that's what we should talk about today, because...
Yeah, so that I haven't committed to anything except excuses about why I can't do things. It's a very painful realization. I'm getting teary in my voice talking about it. Because it's true. That's how you know it's true. If it makes you want to cry, that's a pretty good indicator.
If it makes you angry or sad, it's probably true.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, what am I actually committed to? I am actively trying to take steps every day to accomplish the things I want to do in the world. Which feels great. It hasn't been very long, just a few months really, where I've been taking daily conscious action. Not unsurprisingly, as I'm taking that daily action, I'm also smoking weed every night because it's hard. And at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't want to have feelings anymore. Thank you, weed. You're my best friend. I'm going to watch an episode of something on YouTube. Boy, this is going to be great. I think part of the reason I can't follow my own train of thought is because I'm standing outside of myself right now, looking at how I'm reacting to this. Because part of me is read up on all the material and knows all the things. Like, the brain is functioning, cognition not impaired, right? And so I have a a separate self who's watching my emotional being react to these things and is like, come on, kid, you can do it. You can make good choices. I know it hurts right now. So I feel a little divided and I'm having problems, like, tracking. It's lovely to feel supported by the part of me that I developed to avoid things. Like, to be able to turn her around and have her, like, apply her intellect to the emotional things that are happening is really cool. But it doesn't mean the emotional things are any easier, necessarily. Which is a shame, because I really believed in her. And I'm a little disappointed that she can't save me from my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a shame. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I have a few reflections for you.
Go ahead.
One is, someone wise keeps telling me that learning is a spiral.
Shut up.
Which is so frustrating. We really want to believe that we're just through that thing and we have emerged from our pain cocoon.
Yeah.
A perfectly formed, wonderful person. Who's perfect
I want to be done.
Exactly. Done, yes.
Yeah.
I get it. I feel that. So I've been thinking about that a lot too. That I have that lazy part of me that wants to finish something emotional or journey-wise so that I can feel that I'm done with that.
Yeah.
So learning is a spiral.
Thank you.
So don't know if there's a lot of judgment going on. It sounds like there might be.
Oh, so much self-judgment, sure.
So be gentle. I found myself this winter falling into my pattern of watching a lot of television and feeling lazy and listless and lost. And I was so angry at myself for that because that feels like a teenage pattern.
Yeah.
I'm like, this shit is so old.
That is a Gold Star television on top of the dresser in your room, maybe, and there's a bowl of chips and salsa there, and it's the air conditioning's on full blast because it's the middle of the summer, and you can see it's a beautiful day, but there's another episode of whatever, sassy TV you need to watch.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Yeah. But I think if we could look at it as the old patterns come up because we're taking a step forward, which is the spiral.
Well, that's fucking smart. Look at you being smart. Yeah.
Also, be gentle on yourself around the weed because your fucking brilliant brain needs a break. You know?
Yeah, that's totally what it is. It's not a method by which I avoid having negative feelings that other people deal with in healthy ways, like having a salad and taking a jog. It's not at all that.
Okay, first of all, that's like 2% of the population, which happens to be 95% of the population around here. Everyone else goes to Walmart and buys, Doritos.
Should I tell you that I went to Whole Foods last night and I bought 5 different kinds of cookies, stoned out of my mind? And the cashier was like, honey. But in my head, I had a story ready that I was buying this for a child's birthday party. Like, I had the lie ready. If somebody confronted me about the number of sugar and carbs.
You prepped a lie?
I did. I didn't have to deploy it because no one asked. Because nobody gives a shit about what's happening for me. No one gives a shit. But I was in my neurotic, like, everyone knows I'm high and sad and I'm about to eat all these cookies.
Your brain and your heart are working overtime right now. So I want to tell everybody out there that disassociation is okay from time to time. You need to know you're doing it. But you also may need it. And that's okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That was very handy. Thank you. Aw, I'm comforted. But no, you're right. Like, spring is here. And that, like, everything's moving. That's the thing, right?
It's
like,
painful.
It's coming up.
Sap. Moving through your veins.
I'm rising. That's right.
Painful thing.
Yeah. Whew. It's rough. And tiring.
Our winter minds are sharp, but our winter bodies are soft. And
there's a lot of energy up in the head that's coming. Yeah, that's true.
We're waking up, and it's fucking painful.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, thank you. What a wonderfully comforting, loving bit of emotional context you've given me. Thank you.
I think you're doing great.
Thanks. Oh, God. Well, also, like, and I was thinking about it yesterday, I think I am actually lonely. I spend a lot of time at home, and, like, as I've mentioned, I like being alone. I have a very high tolerance for it. I enjoy it much longer than most people enjoy it, and then I can stand it much longer than that. Mm-hmm. But in the winter, man, like, I don't feel like leaving my house. And I see people. I go out with friends and things. But I like sparky chatty times, and I don't really have anyone to sparky chatty with except you, and you live on the moon. So I'm happy that it's heating up. I can be outside. I can at least go out and be in society, even if I'm not talking to people. That seems like a good idea. I'm doing a lot of like internal, quiet, still thought and like mental labor. And I have stopped going to the gym. It's been like 2 weeks, and I'm imbalanced.
I was about to say, it sounds like you need some balance. You need some outside time.
Yes.
So Teresa and I have a thing that we say to each other, which, if it's okay to say, I think came out of something a therapist said to you.
Sure.
Which is, you were at your therapist's office and you said, I think I'm depressed. And your therapist said to you, why don't you spend a week eating clean, getting time outside, walking 30 minutes a day, getting sunshine 30 minutes a day, and then come back to me next week. And if you still feel down or depressed or sad, then we can discuss the possibility of you being depressed.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Depression is obviously a very serious condition, and I have been probably clinically depressed in my life, but there's a difference between being depressed and just being down.
Yeah.
And what I think is important is that we as human beings have emotional weapons in our arsenal to pull ourselves out of feeling blue and feeling down.
Those questions are the question. Have you had enough water today?
Mm-hmm.
Have you smoked weed today? And I had a series of questions that I had to have 5 yeses and a no. They had right answers. Until they had right answers, I wasn't allowed to make an assessment about what my mental health. Like, the answers had to be correct.
What can you share?
Yeah, it was like, have you had enough water? The answer should be yes, obviously. Have you exercised for the last 3 days or for 5 days? The answer should be yes. Have you read a book that you love or referred to something textual that you really enjoy? Have you smoked weed? The answer needs to be no. And then, have you talked to somebody that you love about something? And so had to have the right answers to those questions before I was allowed to consider whether, like, a next step or, like, something further. And you know what's fucking hysterical? Getting the right answers to those 5 questions is the hardest fucking thing. Like basically, I'm not allowed to discuss my feelings until I've got the answer to the hardest fucking things to do on Earth for me. So, yeah.
Because we're on the topic, I'd like to share what I have to do to feel human, or at least what some of my tools are. This winter, it was fairy lights.
Yeah.
And candles. And one of my rituals that sustained me and kept me sane this winter was turning on my clear Christmas lights, which are still up. So now I've shifted. They're not Christmas lights anymore. They're party lights.
Yay.
Easter lights. I have a window that faces east. And so it looks over the prairie, over what will eventually be the garden. It's starting to become the garden. My cousin and I put up clear Christmas lights around it. And it's right over the sink. So I would turn out all the lights in the house. I would light just a couple of candles. I would turn on some colored lights I had on the other side of the room, and I'd turn on the white Christmas lights. I would put on Michelle Obama reading her book, Becoming, and I would do the dishes in a very lovely, warm, welcoming light. The issue was the next day, the dishes wouldn't have been very well done.
I was going to say, I'm going to guess there's some spinach left on those dishes.
Exactly. That was the downside. But the experience of it was warm and felt very gentle. And so that became a little bit of my ritual.
Well, and having your hands in warm water and, like, moving your hands through warm water.
And meanwhile, having the voice of someone that I really respect telling me how she became so awesome. You know, she makes me want to be a better man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I take baths. I get outside and get some sun and spend time with my dog. And I did find myself this winter feeling really isolated as well. I realized I'm not the best at reaching out to people. And now that we live so far out, I don't see a lot of my close friends as often as I would like. So first of all, I had to resign myself to the fact that I would have to drive.
Yeah.
It was worth it to drive to see my loved ones. And then I also had to resign myself that it's okay to talk to people on the phone. It's okay to call them and reach out. So I've been talking to probably a loved one who's far away at least once a week, and it's been lovely.
That's cool.
It's sort of checking in with your group of women. For me, it's my strong, awesome women friends who are far away and I miss. I tend to go into being a little in denial of how much I miss people when they're not around.
Yeah.
I'd actually like to really engage that more and reach out. There are a few more people.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be good to kind of, it sounds weird, but to keep on a rotation, you know?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it.
I think it's important to set up rituals for yourself.
Yeah, so on that note, I've been spending a lot of time purchasing various witch books
Mm-hmm.
and looking at rituals and cleaning out spaces in my room for altar things and sort of taking that on as something real. Because it is, like, those things, they feel like they don't matter because it's very straightforward, but, like, setting that kind of intention, oh my god! Oh god, I just realized, what the fuck? This is hysterical. Okay, you want to talk about a repeating pattern? There are a lot of things I'm tracking, and I sort of need to keep up with them. I bought a planner, and as you know, I buy planners when I feel like my life is out of control. And I was like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do the brain dump. I'm gonna figure out what's happening. I'm gonna, make. And that was 3 days ago. And I bet you that was actually the trigger for what happened yesterday. Because the minute I start to write it all down, it feels like too much. And I'm like, holy shit. Do the things I want really require all of this? Oh my god, I'm gonna die. Because I'm a big picture thinker. I like to see the whole thing. It turns out I also get overwhelmed by the whole thing. And this comes back to the faith thing I was saying, which is that taking the small step and not having to do all the things, but just figure out what the next little one is, and having faith that taking the next little step is actually keeping you on the path and taking you in the direction you want to go. That's something I definitely need to cultivate. And ritual is probably, that's probably why I'm also simultaneously buying witches' almanacs.
Well, let's talk about ritual for a second, because I was having some difficulties in a relationship with friends. There was a space that we would meet in. I had some intentions around how I wanted the relationship to change, and I wanted to inject a little bit of my positive intentions into that space and into that relationship. I'm bringing this up because I think it's a nice little example of how to set a ritual, because I don't think that that's in our cultural lexicon. Like, you're capable of magic. I mean, I come from a Christian and Catholic background. So I feel really disempowered around ritual and around magic. It's always some white dude sort of 50 feet that way that is capable of magic.
Standing higher than you.
Exactly. So I'm bringing this up because I want to talk about ritual and sort of what are the components of ritual. So what I did with this space in order to inject a little bit of my positive intentions, of course, I was focusing on the negative pieces. So it's always good when you're in a difficult relationship or you're having trouble even with yourself to just reset your intentions.
That's really
So
good.
rather than focusing on the negative pieces and the things I was upset about in this relationship, it was really good reframing. So if that's all it does, if it is psychological, fine.
Right.
Because it fucking works.
Reframe it and look at what you want than what you're avoiding or what you hate. Yeah, exactly.
And I think that you and I are natural problem solvers. And I know my partner Tim is as well. So we focus on the problems because they're kind of fun.
I'm really good at it.
Yeah, it's fun.
Why would I ever want to look for what's right? Because I can feel really good fixing something that's a little wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
So what I did was I lit a candle, and I think that that's a really good way to start a ritual. And I took pieces of paper, really nice quality paper. I wrote out my intentions for the relationship. So it was things like humor, lightness, honesty, vulnerability, and I believe I wrote out 8 of them. They were my intentions for the relationship going forward and what elements I wanted more of in that relationship. When I wrote them out in a sunbeam. So light was an important element, and intention is an important element. And then I slipped them under the rug, 2 at each corner of the rug, in the space where we would meet. And again, I believe the line between magic and psychology is actually a pretty permeable one. So I don't know if it was the psychological effect on me or if it held some sort of magic sway on it. But I think that setting those intentions in that space really helped. I know that those intentions helped me in that relationship. Things seemed to be healthier and clearer, and
the conversation went better than it had in the past.
Exactly. I felt like it opened up the lines of communication, and it really helped. So I think that the use of ritual is really powerful. And I think that that's something we should all use to help us just remain clear and focused on what it is we want. just, again, even psychologically for yourself to be focused on what you want rather than what you don't, I think is really important. And I say that because I don't do that enough.
Yeah, sure. I mean, all advice is first advice to me. Like, anything I say to you is something I need to hear, usually. We run our little scripts, like, all the time. We've got these pre-programmed little things we do.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing ritual and setting intentions does is it helps you identify when the unconscious scripts you run every day are taking you out of alignment with your actual values. Because the idea of alignment is actually really important to me lately, because I'm making a lot of really big decisions based on what I want in the world. There's a sense that I have that I need to be checking in, and maybe I haven't been, which is part of why I have anxiety about it. I need to be checking in to make sure that, like, I think I'm on the path, but it's so unusual for me to have chosen a direction and then go that way. I know that sounds really weird. Usually I choose a direction and then pick something that's like 10 degrees off to the side of it to keep myself safe from the thing I actually want. Yeah, I pick something that's like my third choice, right? Because if it's my third choice, there's less at stake for me in wanting it. And then if I don't get it, I didn't really want it anyway, so that's fine. It's like the ultimate self-defeating behavior. I'm really good at it.
You're staying cool, right? You're staying frosty.
That's
you're
right.
like, I don't really care anyway.
Yeah, whereas if it's something I actually want, like having fun conversations with you and sharing this with people, if I actually want it, it's just fraught. It's constantly fraught. I have so many feelings all the time, you know?
Well, and this comes back to me digging dirt all week, right? This is that theme of, I just got to load another bucket full of dirt. It's not a bucket. It's a really cool garden cart that I'm very proud of. We got for Christmas. I don't know why I'm proud of it. We asked for it, and some adult with actual money gave it to us. Yeah, it's one more load of dirt, and you just got to keep doing that.
Yeah, but it doesn't. But my thing is, it doesn't feel like that's enough. How can it be that something as straightforward as just doing a thing over and over again, how can that possibly yield any results? Like, I'm a really black and white, also very incorrect thinker about what it takes to succeed at something, because I've never actually fucking tried to succeed at anything, because I'm always doing my third choice. So here we are, everybody. And now I'm doing my first choice in like two really important ways. I'm studying something that I think is of benefit to the world and that is fascinating to me, and that I think is going to be able to pay me, which is part of it. It's like trade school. It's like going to Hogwarts as a trade school. It's the best thing I've ever decided to do. And, you know, I've chosen to do something creative with my awesome friend Claire. And yeah, it turns out that's enough to throw me completely off balance when the sap starts rising.
Can I return to ritual for a second?
Of course.
So those are some elements: being clear about intention, lighting a candle, using light as a piece of your ritual. Other things to think about with ritual are smells.
That I really
If you don't believe that we're giving meaning to everything in our lives all the time and making up a story about what's going on, then you got to get with it, guys. So if you're making meaning all the time, then you might as well make good meaning and be intentional around that meaning. So
with fun things.
Exactly.
Like delicious smells.
Exactly.
And beautiful sunbeams.
So it could be incense. It could be, again, a candle that has a fragrance you like. It could be burning sage. It could be
Sweetgrass.
Sorry, I like to think about the senses.
Yeah.
So the smell, the sight, what are you wearing when you do this ritual? I just want to encourage people to feel free to just make it up.
That's all anyone's doing anyway. Welcome to adulthood.
Yep. So back to this idea of the little steps along the path. So me schlepping dirt, right? These little steps and the issues you have with little steps.
Yeah.
You were just saying something really interesting.
Yeah. I think I have a core belief that boredom is the opposite of achieving your dreams.
So boredom is the opposite of progress.
Yeah, something like that. If you're on the path that you're supposed to be on, it's going to be exciting and new and and all that good stuff all the time. It's black and white thinking. It feels like pretty young thinking. And I recognize that it's young thinking. Like, I can stand from the outside and say, oh, well, that's a pretty damaging belief. Like, that's pretty self-limiting behavior. But on the inside, I'm like, fuck it, I don't feel like doing it today. I did it yesterday. And so, whatever that is, childish need for entertainment and excitement, or lack of attention span brought on by years of media abuse and weed, or whatever, or just like my predisposition to like new shiny things. Whatever that is very clearly at odds with the things I'm trying to actually do with my life.
There is part of me that really loves routine. I actually have to fight that a little bit.
Wow.
There is something about just knowing, just having that clarity of I just need to keep doing this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's never hard. I mean, like hauling the dirt is challenging, physically challenging, and it's boring. But I'm really enjoying the routine of us closing down our house for the evening. So we make sure all of the cats are in, brushing my teeth, washing my face, grooming our dog. There are all these steps to get to bed that are the same every night. And I really enjoy that. I find that comforting.
Have you always?
No.
Okay, so it's a skill I can develop.
Yes. Here's my question for you, because we've been talking about ritual. What is the difference between ritual and routine?
The level of intention you bring
Right.
to it. Whether you're running an unconscious script, that's routine. Ritual is bringing intention to it.
So I would argue that in my nighttime routine, I have put meaning on it. And so now it's a ritual for me.
That's interesting.
So I think there's a connection here between ritual and routine. And I think making that distinction is important. It is just about the intention and meaning that you place on it.
That's really interesting, Claire. Thank you. I feel like, oh yes, I'm going to do that. That's what I want to say. Like, yes. Like I'm in my therapist's office and I want to prove to her that I'm committed to my own well-being. I don't know if I actually will.
You know how to be a good student.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when you have a routine, I think the way to keep the big picture in mind, and I do think it's helpful to hold the big picture, right? It's not just head down. I guess I would just encourage you to make routine more of a ritual.
Yeah.
And giving it intention and meaning. And asking yourself, what is it I'm doing, right? Proven this with habits. Your long-term brain and your short-term brain are not communicating.
They're not friends, man.
No.
They have different interests.
Yeah.
I looked at sweaters online for 3 hours last night
exactly.
while I was high. And my short-term brain was like, shit, yeah, what a good use of time. And my long-term brain is behind going, Teresa, come back.
Right.
What are you doing? I'm right here for you. Yeah.
So what I've had to do is say every shovelful is tomatoes.
Nice.
Is strawberries.
Yeah.
I'm not, it's fucking hard.
Yeah.
So, but it's good to say, what am I doing right now?
Yeah.
That's meaning. So for me, I'm taking care of the house that I helped build and I love. And I'm taking care of the animals that bring me companionship, joy, and these things make my life richer. And I am now caring for them and also caring for myself. That matters to me. I'm taking care of myself and my surroundings and the beings that are around me. And that makes me really happy. And that brings me comfort. So I'm very aware of what I'm doing.
Yeah. When you said that, I was like, yeah, but engagement takes energy. And I don't have the energy to engage in all of the things that need my energy. Like I'm limited. I have to choose.
You can be aware of what you're doing and conscious of what you're doing. But it doesn't mean that you energetically are projecting outside of yourself. And like, it doesn't have to be a very masculine energy of like, now I'm doing this thing and I'm engaging with this thing. I think it can be a lot more gentle.
So you're talking about it, there's a possibility for bringing a different quality of energy.
Yes.
To it.
I guess my question would be, is there a softer form of engagement?
Right. Well, and let me try and hook it into my fledgling knowledge of energetic medicine. I speak about engagement as a more yang activity, a more outward reaching, upward moving. Your request or your reframe is a request to me to look for a more yin way of interacting with it. So more nourishing, more central, more internal, whatever that is.
Yes.
Which I think is totally fucking valid and a great idea. Thanks. Yeah. You know.
Now I'm questioning my own thing. But when
Good.
I'm doing my routine
Tear it down.
at night, I'm not like, look at the line of the curvature on this
Right.
dog bed that I'm
Just
shoving
doing
under
the
the
thing.
couch.
Just doing the thing.
Right, I'm doing it, but I'm aware why I'm doing it. I guess so it's very gentle.
Okay, so give me a high five, because I do actually have that. I have an evening one and a morning one, and I'm just realizing it, which is that I make my bed every morning, and I shove the dog bed under the bed, and I pick up anything that's on the floor, and I have an intention to put it away at some point during the day. So there is a little bit of that. And I have a nighttime routine that's health and hair and skin-based that happens.
See?
So, okay.
And you know why you're doing it.
Yeah.
I guess I would say maybe the difference between routine and ritual is that ritual is bridging that gap of long-term, short-term thinking.
That's that's really interesting.
I mean, and I would still say intention is a big piece of that.
Sure.
But the intention serves in connecting,
Mm-hmm.
opening the channels of communication between your now brain and your forever brain.
Yeah. My anxiety comes up when I recognize that there's more I could do to take care of the people and objects that support me, and I just don't fucking feel like it. Because how dare a woman not want to be helpful and caretaking? That's a really old.
I get it. I mean, I don't feel like I was on one path last week. So I feel a little bit like I don't know what I was doing. I feel like I was scattered.
Yeah.
Again, really excited, but yeah, I don't feel like I held a lot of focus. I like to do everything I do with love. I don't always succeed at that. But I was given this image once when I was a kid of your cup overflowing with love, and that sows the seeds for other things in your life. I'm not trying to set this up as an impossible standard for people to adhere to, and I certainly fall short. But if you love yourself and take care of yourself first, then you can take care and love the people around you. Then you can take care and love the environment around you. Then, maybe that's your home. Like ripples, right? That your love and your care ripples around you. So one thing that has been really amazing about moving into the middle of nowhere and at the beginning of fall is that we've had time to really care for ourselves and for our home. Now our attention is turning outward a bit to the gardens. But with that, the house is a mess. It's hard to add more.
Yeah.
Something's going to fall by the wayside.
Yeah. This idea of taking care of yourself first, I think it's a precondition for having clean, loving relationships with others. And it also allows us to hone our ability to love, right? Because if you can love yourself when you're really not impressed with your own behavior, and you can be gentle with yourself and caring, and just have that, be enough for yourself without having to do anything or change anything, even when the things you do are, legit questionable, that's a really powerful, beautiful place to start. I think I have a habit of going outward when I'm feeling a lack in myself instead of going inward and actually taking care of whatever that deficiency is.
Mm-hmm. I think that's very common.
And so that is a dynamic that's been present for me lately too, which is I know I need something. And I've been looking at my diet and I've been looking at exercise and doing those things. And when I stop focusing on diet and exercise, I actually start going out again. And maybe I need to buy another thing,
Mm-hmm. What is your self-talk like? Is it pretty judgy?
My default is Jesus Christ, get your shit together. Why is this still an issue?
Mm-hmm.
But I've gotten a lot better at much more quickly jumping in and saying, yeah, okay, be nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually okay. Here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that is, that's okay. I used to delay, and it would in 3 days, I'd be like, oh, I was really mean to myself. And now it's immediately. I'm like, oh, come on now. So the first impulse is always, fuck you. What's wrong with you? But then almost immediately, yeah, okay, no, fuck you. And also, I've identified some super sneaky ways that my amygdala is adapting and evolving. Because the messages that I used to get about why it wasn't worth it to do something used to be very clear and very clearly nonsense. That's never going to work. Well, fuck off. That's not true. And my amygdala is evolving. And my amygdala is now but shouldn't you do all this other stuff first? And is playing into whatever the neurosis is in the moment toward the same end, which is getting me to stand perfectly still and do nothing and talk to no one for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she wants. Last night I was thinking about, I came up with how I want to frame a creative project that I'm working on. I was like, oh, that's a perfect way of addressing it. Yay. And then, yeah, but that's pretty cheesy. I mean, I don't know if that's the best idea. And also you're high, so you probably want to, it's probably not even worth writing down. You don't want to be embarrassed when you revisit this when you're sober. And I was like, no, I think I actually will write it down, amygdala. we'll see when I'm sober what the deal is.
Well, and the concept that you'd be embarrassed just by the fact that it was written down and future you might see it. You know what I mean? Like, embarrass yourself with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And
That's, wow.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing?
Your brain is a frightening beast.
Yeah. I mean, she definitely needs, like, a task. She needs to be put to work. Because otherwise she just spends all her time fucking me up.
In the recent months, my self-talk has maybe been a little rougher than usual, but I had a revelation several years ago. Talk to yourself the way you'd speak to a loved one.
Yeah.
The way you talk to yourself is you would never talk to anyone else that way. Unless you were seriously imbalanced.
Yeah, if you came to me with a problem and you were crying, I would never tell you, what the fuck is wrong with you? Get over it. Jesus Christ. Never in a million years, right? But so easy to do it to ourselves.
So I think that thinking of it in terms of, like, you know, how a loved one would speak to you has really helped me. And I didn't even know that voice existed within me. So I'm probably not as forgiving as I think I am.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of reasons to beat yourself up that are legitimate. Not actively engaging with racist blind spots, for example. White ladies, that's something you can legit be upset at yourself for, because it's something we should be doing, and it's really hard, and most of us are not doing it as much as we should. But you're actually not going to do it because you're shitty to yourself. Like, being shitty about it never solves the problem, is the point. And it doesn't make you feel better either. And so if it doesn't actually make you feel better and it doesn't solve the problem, you should probably just stop doing it. Best of luck with that.
I mean, there is this mental game we play where we tell ourselves we're making ourselves better. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, if I'm really hard on myself, that means I'll be better.
Sure.
But it never works that way.
No.
Never.
I'm hard on myself. Oh, I'm going to make myself better. And then I'm like, I need to spend 3 days watching television. I don't know what's going on with me.
I would like you to try and make some of your routines into rituals.
Mm-hmm.
And stay on the path you're on. Because your path is the path of the awesome.
Thanks. Doesn't feel like that.
You said you wouldn't be shitty.
That wasn't shitty. I thanked you.
Thanks.
It's like when I try and be nice, I have a deep relationship with someone who finds it very hard when I'm nice to him. And when I try to be nice to him, I can tell when he's deliberately pushing it away because it makes him have feelings. And I'm like, are you pushing away the niceness? Stop pushing away the niceness. Take the niceness on.
It's hard.
It is.
It's hard. We should each try and ritualize the coming of spring in our own small way. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. Sometimes you plant bulbs and it's awesome, and sometimes you haul dirt and it's less awesome.
Starting with the seasons and the time of day is a good place to start. You're always going to be able to start there because it will always be a season and a time of day. And you know, springtime's job is to move things and to support things as they grow, and growing is painful. Mm-hmm. So, you know.
Hang in there, everybody.
Hang in there.
Spring is wonderful, and it's also hard.
Yeah. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Well, you know, there's no such thing as matter. I mean, straight up, there's no such thing as matter. If you look at something closely enough, it's all just vibrating energy. And so it makes sense to me. I'm not a physicist. Shit. All these disclaimers. I have no skills or education in any of the things I talk about.
Testing? Great. Thank you for listening to It Chooses You. Your hosts are Teresa Sparks and Claire Patton. Our theme song is by Bobby Dart. If you'd like to get in touch with us, drop us an email at itchoosesyoupodcast@gmail.com.